It was a stormy night when Jake, a pizza delivery driver, was sent to an unfamiliar address on the edge of town. His GPS struggled to pinpoint the location, but after driving down a narrow, winding road, he found it. An old, decrepit mansion with broken windows and a collapsing roof. Hesitant, Jake knocked on the massive wooden door. It creaked open by itself. Inside, the air was thick and smelled of decay. "Hello," Jake called out, but only silence answered. He decided to leave the pizza on the entryway table and head out, but as he turned back to his car, he saw something that made his stomach drop. The mansion was gone. It had vanished into thin air, leaving him standing in an empty, muddy field. The pizza he'd been carrying was now cold and wet, as if it had been sitting in the rain for hours. When Jake returned to the pizzeria to report the incident, his manager frowned. "That address doesn't exist," they said. "It burned down 20 years ago, with the family still inside." The basement order. Sarah thought it was just another late-night delivery. The address was for a small suburban house, and the note read, "Bring the pizza to the basement door." Confused, she knocked on the front door, but no one answered. She decided to check the side yard and found a basement door slightly ajar. "Hello?" she called, peering inside. A voice from the darkness answered, "Come down. The money's here." Something about the voice felt wrong. It was high-pitched and childlike, but Sarah could tell it wasn't a child. Against her instincts, she stepped down the creaky stairs. The basement was lit by a single dangling bulb, and in the center was a pile of crumpled cash. As she bent to pick it up, the door slammed shut. A loud thudding sound echoed behind her, and she turned to see nothing. But she wasn't alone. She felt cold breath on her neck and heard a whisper. "You'll stay for the next delivery." Sarah's co-workers reported her missing the next day. The pizzeria received another order from the same address that night. The empty party. Josh was excited about a big delivery order, 10 pizzas for what sounded like a party at an old warehouse. When he arrived, the place was buzzing with music and laughter, but the windows were dark and no cars were parked outside. He knocked on the massive metal door and it creaked open. Inside, the sound of the party was louder, but the room was completely empty, just stacks of old crates and cobwebs. "Hello? Pizza delivery!" he shouted, but no one responded. Suddenly, the music stopped. The air grew icy and faint whispers filled the room. Josh turned to leave but found the door he'd come through was gone. The whispers turned into laughter, mocking, cruel laughter that echoed all around him. The lights flickered, revealing shadowy figures standing in a circle around him, their hollow eyes staring. They pointed at him and whispered, "You're late. You brought the wrong order." When Josh was found days later, wandering the streets in a daze, he couldn't explain what had happened. All he could say was, "They're still waiting for their pizza." The endless hallway. Mia was new to delivering pizzas and was excited about the extra tips from a wealthy-looking apartment building downtown. The order was for Unit 12B, but when she got there, something felt off. The hallways were unusually long, and her footsteps echoed eerily. She finally found the unit, knocked, and a man with sunken eyes opened the door. He barely spoke, snatched the pizza, and slammed the door shut. As Mia turned to leave, the hallway seemed longer than before. The more she walked, the farther the elevator seemed to get. She tried to retrace her steps, but the doors were all numbered 12B, and every turn brought her back to the same place. Her phone battery died, and panic set in. The next morning, the building manager found her wandering the halls, mumbling incoherently about too many doors. When asked where she had delivered the pizza, she pointed to a unit that had been vacant for years. The Hungry Shadows. Late one night, Tom was tasked with delivering to a cabin deep in the woods. The instructions were clear. Leave the pizza at the front porch and don't knock. When Tom arrived, the cabin was in complete darkness except for a flickering lantern on the porch. He placed the pizza down and turned to leave, but a raspy voice called out, "Wait, don't you want your tip?" Tom froze. The voice didn't sound human. It was deep, gurgling, and seemed to echo from every direction. Against his better judgment, he turned back. The porch was empty, but the pizza box was now open, with claw marks gouged into the lid. Then he saw them, shadows moving unnaturally fast, circling him. He sprinted to his car and drove off, but the shadows followed, clinging to his car windows and whispering in a language he couldn't understand. When he got back to the pizzeria, his co-workers swore he looked older, his hair streaked with gray.